Hi, I'm Sarah Cowgill. Joining me today are Graham Noble, Dave Patterson, Andrew Moran, and Michelle White. And this is the Conservative 5, Liberty Nation's online TV news program. On today's episode, with a nod to the late, great Toby Keith, courtesy of the red, white, and blue, did we just witness the most divisive Olympic shet? We'll discuss in Fallout over Olympic gold. Stay tuned for the crazy in Cartelville. We'll mull over the recent chaos in Cartel Carnage. And of course, we'll discuss an American State of the Union. Then brace yourself for another episode of Just for Fun, Volume 88, to round out the program. All this and more coming up in this edition of the Conservative 5.
Punk rock was still the greatest music genre of the 70s.
It was the slap heard around the world. The USA men's hockey team slapped in a goal in overtime to beat Canada for gold. It was a priceless moment for America, not having won hockey gold since the 1980 Miracle on Ice, showing Russia where to put those hockey sticks. And that means, of course, on the wall of their apartment. This Olympic moment had the same passion behind it, just a different country. And while most of America celebrated, even the Olympics could not bridge the political divide. Everyone was squawking about their cause. And Andrew, you're on panel simply to be the Canadian punching bag for 2 minutes, but I'm going to let you start. So could you put our minds at rest? And yes, we really won that. And yes, Canada cheats at curling.
Well, I'll be honest. I didn't watch the game. I don't really care for hockey or the Olympics. But I did find the fallout reaction hilarious. All the Canadians, all the online Canadians complaining about how, the United States is not a democracy and Canada's so much better and Canada's democratic. It was absolutely absurd. But I did say I tease my kids heading into this game that if Canada wanted to win that game, they need to bring that Canadian curler from a couple of weeks ago to touch that puck and push it into the net, and that's how they would have won. But I will say this: that a real sport is back, and that sport is baseball. It's spring training. Baseball is back, baby. That's where you should go.
Andrew, no. Stay on point. Stay on point. And so I'm going to Dave, since Andrew just veered off the reservation. Dave, okay, so they have more teeth, but what's up with the American ice skater bashing her president?
I don't think the evidence really suggests that there's widespread trashing by the U.S. figure skaters as a group. Most of the coverage centered around one figure skater, Amber Glenn, and to a lesser extent, there were others in the skiing venues, but other skaters like Ilya Melanin and Elisa Liu, received praise for their performance and positive representation of the USA.
Well, you can't say that Ilya Melanin was not amazing. I mean, he was just amazing.
He had the right attitude, and I think he learned something about himself with after the a long program. I think, but
we all learned something.
Yeah. But, Glenn, by contrast, commented during a pre-Olympic press conference that it's been a hard time for the LGBTQ plus community overall in this administration. And my reaction was, who cares? She also raised concern.
I don't like them. I don't like the use of the platform, but that's just me. And I am a very big fan of the First Amendment, right? As Graham is. And so, our Olympic team can exercise that right, but is it wrong or right place? I mean, it's obviously a great audience, but wrong or right place, Graham?
Well, a lot of us these days, possibly on both sides of the political divide, often will complain about politics coming into everything, ideology coming into everything. But let's face it, when it comes to music, poetry, other types of prose, even art, there is a tradition going back literally centuries of these individual artists using those mediums to express their, cultural preferences, their political views, their ideals, whatever. It goes back a long way. So I don't really have a problem with it. It's a shame when certain once legendary musicians seem to have gotten to the point these days where expressing their political views is more important than actually making good music. That's a shame. But, we expect that. But then of course...
I think I know who you're talking about.
Right, yeah. Well, there's several of them. I mean, I'll name them, Bruce Springsteen, John Mellencamp. I there was a time when I loved their music, both of them music, fantastic, and Springsteen was just a great live performer. I mean, to see him on stage, which I haven't done in person, but I've seen it on TV, and fantastic. And it's a shame the way he's decided that politics is more important than music. But anyway, getting back to it, it seeped into then the movie industry and TV dramas, and you can hardly get away from it. Now with sports, I just think that for a start, I'm not going to say that there should be somehow we should make some kind of law banning athletes from expressing their political point of view. That would be ridiculous.
Absolutely.
I think maybe sometimes these sporting governing bodies should tell them to tone it down a bit. But, I think can't we all of us, whether you're a progressive or a Republican or a Democrat or a communist, a fascist, a libertarian, whatever you are, can't we just enjoy our sports without the politics? These athletes are quite welcome to get onto TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or whatever after the game is over, and rant and rave about politics all they want. But, while you're there, playing your match, playing your tennis match, playing your hockey game, playing your football game, please just give everyone a break and let us enjoy and let us celebrate you. No matter what your political views are, let's celebrate your fantastic achievement of becoming a world-class athlete. And let's bask in vicariously in your skill, and let's enjoy that, and save the politics for afterwards.
If everybody sees something though, it seems like the media made more things about politics than the athletes this go around. I mean, I didn't follow the intricacies of this year's Olympics, but it seemed like the
media has to, Andrew. They have to.
They had a story about this Chinese woman. I think she's a skier, Eliza Gu or something like that, and she, they were praising her. She's bringing But then New York Times started complaining about the U.S. men's hockey team inside, saying, "Oh, they represent oppression from Trump or whatever hot garbage they were reporting."
Well, their beef about Gu was that she was basically an American and she was competing for the Chinese. But
that's why they were celebrating. Okay. Right.
Yes. So I think, but there is this minor point, and that is that China does pop for $14 million for her as a salary, and that plus all of the endorsements probably had a lot to do with her choice of sponsorship.
Well, it's okay. We don't care. She did fine. I think the best example of political protest in your face at the Olympics might have been 1936 with Jesse Owen and Hitler. That's just my point. But was the Olympics more focused on anti-message than others, Michelle? I mean, 2026 versus any other. I mean, 1968 was the first one I remember being controversial.
Well, I wasn't here in 1968, so I don't even remember reading about it. But yes, I think it was, and I agree with everything Graham, with what everybody said, but with what Graham said, if you want to use your First Amendment right, the Olympics is not the place to do it, because we're all united at that point to watch a game, and it's our place to unplug from all of the other things that get us all riled up every day of the week, and to enjoy a sport. And it should be something you can enjoy without politics. And the other thing is, if you have a First Amendment right to say, believe whatever you want, but you don't take a platform where there's not a discussion and kind of force it on other people and enjoy the moment of the whole competition and the victory and all of that comes with it, and just the American patriotism. So it does sour it, and it also almost is condescending to the ones that are watching, saying we're going to tell you how to think, and we're going to tell you what we think, and this is how you think. They have social media for that. But that's also become more common, I would say, in the last 20 years. I just have to say, I'm so proud of my Bruins who made it to USA team hockey. And I was excited to see two of them honored. But I wish that there weren't politics in some of the other sports. They were very receptive and, loving on the United States, but some of the others, and I won't.
Well, too bad the Bruins can't win any real hockey games.
Yeah, I could have used it better. It's Team USA. That's what you got to do.
8 of the Bruins made it to the finals, and then 2 made it in. So, no, I was excited. I'm just so excited that they won.
I'm just going to say that in terms of, people, and that's it. That's what annoys me is people kind of using their platform to force their opinions on other people. And I think it's high time in this country that we had a constitutional amendment saying that every citizen has the right not to put up with your shenanigan.
That would be a good one. That'd be a good one. Yeah, I totally agree that they have a right to say it, just not there. It's just let us enjoy our sport and have fun.
Yeah, there's I don't know. I think it's good. I think we've made great strides in the message, but quiet messaging is always a little more well receptive. So, whether we love our sport or refuse to watch for personal reasons, being a part of the team is double stitched into our DNA. It is a critical aspect of our culture, thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon years. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, panel. Tijuana, which is just across the border from San Diego, lit up with riots and violence after the death of cartel boss Nemesio Ruben Oseguera Cervantes, or El Mencho. He was killed. That's what happened. Cartel violence exploded across 20 of Mexico's 31 states. You see, El Mencho was the most wanted longtime leader of the world's most powerful cartel, Jalisco Nuevo Generacion. He was important in the trade. That's why everybody's mad. For people on the border states, this is dicey. For those who think vacationing in a fancy resort will keep them safe, those people are delusional. And for those Americans in Mexico, hey, well, good luck getting out. It's dicey there too. What can I say? Dave, I can't keep up with all the stuff that's going on. What is the U.S.'s responsibility here?
Well, I'm not sure I'd use the word responsibility. In this particular case, the U.S. was involved in gathering and sharing intelligence that included providing apparently a detailed targeting package for El Mencho, and they went on to subsequently, who was subsequently killed on February 22nd. So evidently the intelligence was good, but since the Trump administration has identified cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, a greater effort across a wide range of U.S. law enforcement and military organizations, it's beginning to make inroads to root out and engage these cartels, where in the past it hadn't been as enthusiastic about doing that, but now it has this license to work diligently with the Mexican government, Colombian government, to root out and engage, as I said, these cartels. This time, notable organizations, I think, that participated to that point were the Joint Interagency Task Force Counter Cartel. It's a newly formed military-led task force that is under the command of U.S. Northcom. And Northcom provides oversight in the Joint Interagency Task Force. Though we don't know what the specifics are, and they just aren't available in terms of how many other agencies were involved. You could anticipate that the Drug Enforcement Agency, FBI, and CIA, no doubt played some roles. But it seems to me that Mexico and the United States, despite all the rhetoric, in the airways, is working more closely together to actually take on the cartels, and I think that's a good thing.
Well, cartels have grown in membership. They've grown geographically, globally, militarily, and across various markets. I mean, you can cut the head off a snake, a new snake will show up. And they don't historically operate in just drugs. It's not just drugs, Graham. So how do, I mean, can they reestablish?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, and you're correct. It is like kind of cutting the head. It's like the seven-headed or nine-headed
Hydra.
Hydra.
Can't remember how many heads the Hydra had anyway, but all those heads. Yeah, it is, and of course these cartels over the years, even just over the last say 40 years. Different cartels have come into, have grown up, become powerful, and then faded away, and new ones have replaced them. And here's the thing about President Trump, essentially, if you like, blurring the lines between cartels and terrorists. It's entirely appropriate because any and every terrorist organization pretty much that has ever existed anywhere in the world also participates in a certain amount of criminal activity, criminal enterprise, whether it's human trafficking, drugs, prostitution, bribery, extortion, all these kind of things. Terrorists do that. Terrorists involve themselves in criminal activity in order to fund their causes. And by the same token, transnational criminal organizations, including the South and Central American cartels, they will actually commit acts of terrorism in order to further their goal, which is, in their case, it's simply to make as much money as possible. But they will assassinate politicians, local officials, senior law enforcement officials. They will terrorize entire cities or entire towns. They will even sometimes, if it gets the message across, will commit, the mass murder of civilians. So the terrorists are also criminal organizations, and the criminal organizations are not above resorting to terrorism to further their goals. So you can lump the Sinaloa cartel into the same exploding boat as Hamas, if you want to, because they ultimately have different agendas, but they have a lot of the same methods. And so, no, it's not just about drugs. It's about all of the criminal activity you could imagine, a wide range of things. And it would be so much easier to deal with the cartels if all they did was drugs. But that's not what they do. And the thing is, if you cut off one avenue of, let's call it avenue of income for them, avenue of generation of revenues, they'll just find another one. So there's not necessarily any way to completely destroy these organizations ever, but there's a lot of things you can do in order to keep them, kind of restrain them quite significantly. And as Dave touched upon there, the fact that now these cartels are considered terrorist organizations opens up a whole new avenue of resources for the US government to go after them. So, I personally think that's a good thing.
I don't think war on drugs, we're never, I don't care who it is, we're never going to stop people from finding and taking drugs. So, personally, I think drug users could stop or find help. It's kind of a choice. But Michelle, do we think that this one avenue might be drying up, the drug avenue in the cartels?
No, but I'd like to add on to what he said, if I could, about the definition of terrorism. And if you're creating terror in the people that you're ravaging and stealing from or killing, then that's a terrorist. So I think it's a very accurate description of cartels and drug dealers. And I don't think there's a blurring of the line. I think it's very clear. But to answer your question, I think, are you asking me if we should legalize drugs?
A lot of people think it's a good idea.
No, I don't. I don't believe we should waver on morality just to make it under the assumption that that's somehow going to kill these cartels in the black market. I think there'll always be that. But no, in the states that have had legalization of marijuana, there've been a lot of bad things happening, not just to the drug community, but it's almost, before anything else, a desensitizes the community to how bad it really is. And and then how are you teaching your children, oh, this is bad to do, but the government is saying it's okay, and then shops all over the place.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing with cigarettes or alcohol, isn't it?
Right. Well, no, one kills people. Cigarettes and alcohol over time will kill you, but people die from drugs. Sometimes on their first time. Fentanyl kills. How many reports did we hear over the last
I know, but you've got the FDA that would be involved if it was legalized, so everything would have to go through a process there. Of course, government extra, but
right.
Why should we look to the government for any moral?
Exactly. Why should we look to the government for anything? But it's all about addiction, and they can seek help if they want it. They don't. You can't.
I think it's a choice.
It is a choice. You can't force it on people, but I don't think you then make it easier for everyone to get it by legalizing it. It has a whole downstream of bad effects on the community, and I don't agree with it. Most of all, it's the morality issue, but then it turns into other issues. So no, I think that's the wrong way about it. But I don't know the answer, because these clinics and rehabilitation centers exist and people don't use them. You can't force people to go into rehab. You can't force them to. They have to want it, and
you can't force them to take drugs either. So
right, but they have to want it, and it's a choice both ways.
All right, Andrew. So we brought this up. Let's say for grins and giggles that the U.S. legalizes all Class 1 narcotics. I mean, there'd be a lot of random happy people roaming around, but what kind of money will that generate in taxes?
Well, excuse me, you saw this in Colorado shortly after they legalized marijuana. There was a dramatic increase in revenue, and then over time, it actually started decreasing as there were substitution effects. There was oversupply of the product, lowering prices. There was industry competition from other states, but there was also a study conducted by the Cato Institute, I think in 2010, and they estimated that legalizing all drugs would bring in about $50 billion of revenue. And then you have enforcement savings from, the prisons and the courts. And that would save about $40 billion. So overall, you have about $100 billion in revenues from from legalizing drugs. But as Thomas Wall taught us, everything has trade-offs.
Sure.
So you have the substitution effects. Legalize, heroin, whatever the case. So people will buy that heroin, but then there'll be a decline in other parts of the marketplace. So you're seeing this in the real world now. So especially the young generation. The young generation will do weed, but they won't drink alcohol. And I have to push back on what of this conversation about seeking the government's approval for anything. As Sarah pointed out, drugs, alcohol kills you, cigarettes kill you, fast food kills you, chips, soda pop. There's a barrage of things that can kill us. And the point about the government says it's okay to do this, although it's bad. That's a family thing. That is a personal thing. That is up to individuals, and it's not up to the state to determine what is right or what is wrong. It's always the individual. I can't stand the idea of government dictating this, dictating that. Can't say this, can't do that. Bothers me relentlessly. So the economics of it, revenues will probably spike first, but then probably go down. And then on the political side of it, government bad. Don't tell you what to do. Hope that sums up my position.
All right. So there's really no way to get out of this, is there? They've cartels have expanded into places we don't probably even know about. They can be hurt a little bit, like this last taking out the head of the snake, but the new snake is going to show up. A scrape on the knee isn't going to hurt them. Thanks for watching. Thanks, panel. At Tuesday night's State of the Union address, things looked a little bit different. Some Democrats were boycotting. And so President Trump decided to fill their seats with the USA's gold medal winning hockey team. During a post-game call, Trump's excitement had him making a small misstep with the men's team, and he had to quickly say, now I have to invite the women's team. Whoops. And yes, they declined. No one likes to be an afterthought. Did he misstep in that 48-minute State of the Union, though? I mean, let's get to the nitty gritty. Michelle, what was the meat of the speech?
Well, the meat of the speech was that, just like his inaugural speech, he started off with America's golden age begins now. He started with what do you say, the transformation or the turnaround happens now. And then he just went through the list of all the things he's done over the last year, hitting off every point, but beginning with the border. So I think the meat was protecting Americans. And he said a couple of times that he loves America and he loves Americans, and he had people stand up who agreed with him. It was all about love in that first 15 minutes, and he brought in winners, which I think excited everybody in the chamber. Well, almost everybody in the chamber. People were standing up and clapping and shouting USA. So he brings in the team. He honors the veteran from World War II. He honors the Coast Guard cadet who saved the girl in that, saves more than 100 girls in that camp flood last summer. And it was just winner after winner after winner. And I think that really set the tone for the entire speech, because it was optimism, winning, and love for like the first 30 or 40 minutes. And then, of course, he went through all of his policies and having some digs at his enemies, but when you start off on that foot, I think it's an excellent way to begin, because it's almost, how do you argue with that? How do you argue with we're winning and I love my country and I love Americans, and calling out the Americans that were heroes? So I think that is what the takeaway is. That was the meat of it. Of course, there were other highlights and lowlights, but I think I teared up a couple of times with the veteran, with the helicopter pilot that saved the kids, and the girl that was taken from her parents, who was socially transitioned without her parents' permission, and it looked like it was without her permission. So it was a heartfelt speech. It was heart-wrenching for some of us watching it, as parents, because there were a lot of stories that were told that we can relate to.
Nice. David, anything out of character for Mr. Trump? I mean, obviously the cartels made the speech.
Well, to the contrary, I believe that everything was absolutely in character. And, he went through, as Michelle said, item by item, and how the economy has picked up under his leadership. And it has. He talked about the price of gas being as low as $1.85 a gallon. Mm-hmm. He addressed the housing shortage with a plan, and even the commentators did not pick up on this. He has a plan to make housing more affordable for first-time home buyers. I thought it more than choice when he asked the senators and congressmen to stand up if they believed in this statement, quote, "The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens." The Democrats fell right into that trap, and they did not stand, and he called them out. And it really does, in effect, show their true colors. Anything that Trump does, they're going to be against. But by their own admission in this case, they favor people in this country illegally over American citizens, and that really is shameful. But as far as the drug cartels, he didn't really...
Don't you think that was a tiny bit petty? Personally, I think it was kind of petty.
Oh, no, absolutely not. I thought that there was exactly, 70 of the congressmen and senators, the Democrats, chose not to come. That's petty.
Yeah, it's also petty, but I
agree.
I just think that, I think in my estimation, and I might be way old in the tooth about the political things of, the manners of things like this, but you talk about it. You don't.
We are long past that Jacksonian Democrats. But
we're not long past Republicans being, polite. I mean, can't everybody be polite? Even Joe Biden was polite until he got pushed, in front of people. But in speeches, I guess I just don't like it. I thought that was kind of petty.
Joe Wilson did it in 2012, 2013, when he said, when he shouted at Obama, "You lie."
Yeah, and he went back and
Yeah.
you know, he went back and said he was wrong about the apologized. I'm not sure that
I don't know.
he did lie. Actually,
I think the president of the United States needs to not, be baiting people at the State of the Union. That is my opinion. Period. But I'm gonna let Graham talk, as I need to stop talking.
Well, I'm going to say that I think we're way past that point of the old all of those old kind of protocols and, if you like, the unwritten rules of conduct about how members of Congress conduct themselves, about how a president conducts himself. Honestly, I just got to say, I think it went out the window in 2016 when the Democrats decided that the only thing that mattered to them, the only thing the one and only goal they had was to destroy a president they didn't like. And they then discarded a lot of the protocols that were previously accepted. And there was a great time when there was a certain amount of just decorum.
I just don't understand. We need statesmen and stateswomen, and we don't have that. And I think that comes from top-down leadership. And that is I'm going to say that's the last thing on this point. And I'm going to pivot to Andrew. Andrew, what is in your craw about the speech? Anything, or did you think he hit all of his points?
Well, this might come as a surprise, but his speech to the nation didn't really bother me. That was a George W. Bush reference, if anyone remembers that. But anyway, nothing. Surprisingly, nothing really bothered me. Maybe the length, 1 hour and 47 minutes with the longest on record. Though there is a debate as to whether it was actually 1 hour and 48 minutes. Either way, I was up until 2 a.m. But aside from that, it was a decent speech. Now, maybe a complaint I may have is that I didn't laugh as much as I did when Joe Biden was giving his State of the Union addresses. That stuff was gold. That stuff was just comedy gold. And, that's a great time watching those. But the Trump one, nothing really fun. I enjoyed hearing some of those new policy announcements, like the $1,000. He'll match $1,000 contributions for people who do 401ks. That was interesting to me. But overall, it was just it was a fine speech. He had his moments, and overall, I mean, there's nothing much really. Even if you're on the left, there's not much to complain about. However, the counter programming that the other side had just for the State of the Union address, that was just absurd. You had the frog on the stage. It was hosted by that woman who used to be on MSNBC, Joanne Reed. So that was.
Is it Joy Reid?
Joey, whatever his name is, whatever.
Joanne Reed was on.
Reid.
Okay, well, I'm going to close this one down. So, another State of the Union is in the books. It was a lot more red, white, and blue than others in the past. Kind of a nice change. Thanks, panel. Thanks for watching. It's that moment you've all been waiting for. C5 presents a segment we call Just for Fun. We are rolling with an oldie but a goodie, adding a random twist. Trivia by the decades. This week, it's our 1970s version, and hopefully Farrah Fawcett will make an appearance. I guess that's probably impossible, but I'm going to let Dave Patterson take over because I seem to lose control of you people, and he's kind of scary. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Sarah, and it's time for America's penultimate game show, where each of our contestants does their very best. Where the rigor is modest, experience seldom matters, and the intellectual bar is pretty low. So let's get right to it. Now remember, expert panelists, to answer the question, you must answer with the letter identifier and the answer. The shout-out with the right answer, I can hear first, will be the winner. Now, so
Great. We're depending on your hearing aids. Okay, I'm excited.
Time to play. Trivia by the decades. This week it's 1970s, as Sarah mentioned. So let's go to the first question. In what year did the Beatles break up? Was it A, 1969, B, 1970, C, 1971, or D, 1973?
D, 1973.
B.
Not early enough.
1970.
B,
Not early enough. The Beatles are overrated.
1970.
B. The answer is B, 1970, and Sarah is on the board first.
I'm number one.
Yes, the Beatles.
I'm number one. Okay.
They should have broke up in 1960. They're terrible.
Woken up.
Question number
Okay,
two.
excuse me, that's my terrible grammar.
Question number two. What 1975 blockbuster movie featured a giant shark terrorizing a beach town? Was it A Fish Called Wanda, The Godfather, or C, Jaws, or D, Close Encounters of the...
Sorry.
Who was that?
See Jaws.
Can't say that. We're not done with the whole thing yet.
No, I know. I'm sorry. I blurted it out.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind, go.
See Jaws.
See Jaws.
Jerry Nadler.
Sarah has two right off the bat.
I'm winning. I'm winning this one.
So, question number three. Which singer had the big 1978 hit, I Will Survive? Was it Donna Summer, Diana Ross, Cher, or Gloria Gaynor?
Gloria Gaynor.
I heard Andrew say Gloria Gaynor.
First I was afraid, then I was petrified.
Love
Thinking I
that
could
song.
never leave
Oh,
without you by my side.
that's the Thanksgiving takeoff.
That's the greatest karaoke song. I love that song.
Economics. Oh, economics version.
Okay,
Economics version of that song. No, hold on. No, there's an economics version of that song. It's first I was afraid, then I was terrified.
Okay, moving right along. Question number four. Who was the U.S. president who resigned in 1974 due to the Watergate scandal? And if someone doesn't get this, we need to go back to remedial stuff.
Exactly.
A, Jimmy Carter, B, Gerald Ford, C, Richard Nixon, or D, James
See
Buchanan.
Richard.
See Tricky Dick.
And I heard Michelle first.
Thank you.
Yeah, she got it.
I am not a crook. I am not.
Yes, you were. Question number
Kinda.
5. What dance craze and music style dominated the late 1970s with hits like Staying Alive? Was it A, punk rock, B, disco, C, moonwalking, or D, reggae?
Be disco.
Be disco.
Michelle is back on with the number.
Ha.
Another one.
After
Okay.
last night's speech, I'm barely alive.
Barely alive.
But I have to say, punk rock was still the greatest music genre of the 70s.
Uh-huh.
Oh, it's awful.
Oh, disco.
There's something wrong with you.
Oh, okay. Question number 6, panelists. Which toy fad from 1975 involved people buying and caring for smooth stones as pets? Was it A, granite babies, B, shale whales, C, pet rocks, or D, lava lamp?
See Pet Rocks.
Hot rocks.
I
And-
got that.
You did, Sarah. That was very good.
That guy made $3 million in real terms. Oh my goodness, $3 million for that.
I think too many people took their rocks for granite.
Oh, but
I was just guessing, honestly. I don't know that fad at all. I think
Question number 7.
Youngin.
What famous 1977 movie introduced the characters Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, and Darth Vader? Was it A, Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, B, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, C, Alien, or D, Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
A.
it's
New Hope.
Star Wars, but I don't remember which. I don't know which one it was. So I'm
Star Wars 4 is the first one, and like the Beatles, it's overrated.
Graham?
You can't. It was just Star Wars when it came out.
No, it was Star Wars: A New Hope, Episode 4.
Oh,
Right, because then they had the pre.
It was just Star Wars when it first came out, and then later when they started producing 25 other movies, then they had to give them different names to differentiate.
Question number
that's
8.
in line with 50 other people.
Huh?
Okay, question number 8, as I've said before. Which group sang the 1978 hit YMCA? Was it A, Stella Kowalski and her Schottish Five, B, the Bee Gees, C, ABBA, or D, Village People?
D, the Village.
Gee, Village People.
Michelle,
That's how you do it, Sarah. That's how you do it.
No.
Okay. Question number 9. What year did the first Star Wars movie hit theaters? Was it 1978, 1977, 1979, or 1980?
77.
77.
I
That's
stood in
right.
line.
That's right, Sarah.
Thank you. I
Sarah's
stood in line. I remember it.
Sarah's in the lead with 4. And of course, if you remembered the previous question, that might have been a clue. Question 10. In the famous tennis match called Battle of the Sexes, Billie Jean King played A, Martin Milner, B, Brian Nelson, C, Bobby Riggs, or D, Milton Berle?
See Bobby Riggs.
Well, you want to try that one more time?
See Bobby Riggs.
There you go.
That's what I said.
I thought you said B, Bobby Riggs.
Actually, I like Milton Berle better than all of them.
That would have been a more interesting match.
So there you have it. Once again, it's been a thrilling episode of Just for Fun, and it's the trivia for the 1970s. We now know who spent most of her time in the 1970s, and it was Sarah.
It was me. I'm the oldest one here.
Before you sign off, I want to say one thing. Nixon was innocent. That's all I got to say.
Nixon.
Oh, okay, let's not go there. All right, gang. Hey, thanks for tuning in. And we will see you the next time in the Funny Bone Zone. That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform. YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble, we're on them all. As well, Liberty Nation News has its own Roku channel where you can see all of our TV productions. And stop by to see our new aggregate polling operation, The Public Square. I'm your host, Sarah Cowgill. Thanks for joining us today to get your fix of free thinking and free speech at libertynation.com.